it. What do you think?
No, I'm not paid to think, but it sure looks screwy to me. I don't know why you want this easel way down here, and why nobody gets a chair to sit on. What's going on, a meeting or a dance?
All I know is this Dr. Pigors is a VIP, and they're going to want everything to be right.
Well, where is he?
He got called to the phone in Burns' office.
Well, we've done what he said, but it don't make sense to stack all those chairs.
What to say again, Dr. Pigors? What's this?
I'm sorry, Burns. This won't do at all. You know this room is supposed to be set up for a meeting.
What have you done here, Chuck? You know we're expecting 20 men here for a meeting.
We just did what we were told.
You were the easel over here in the corner. That's what the man said. And he told you to leave a box here in the middle of the floor where people can stumble over. And then that in one corner. We're going to have 20 men here?
This is a good joke on me.
What do you mean?
Here I've come to talk to your supervisors on how to give orders and instructions, and I've stuck out already.
But I don't understand. What did...
It's all right, Burns. We still got 20 minutes. And I can make something of this horrible snafu by holding myself up as a bad example.
Oh, but I distinctly heard you tell the men.
What did I tell them? Why is it that whenever orders go wrong, we automatically turn to the people who receive them? What we need to do is to turn to the person who gave them, in this case, me. Chuck, what did I ask you to do?
You said you wanted 3 chairs at the table, and we could stack the rest of them in the corner.
But he meant the ones left over. You ought to know, with men coming here for a meeting...
Ah, but how many? Maybe I wanted them standing up at the beginning. But why the easel way down there?
You said to put the box at one end and the easel at the other.
And that's where you put them. How were you supposed to know I didn't mean the other end of the room, but the other end of the table?
We'll fix that quick.
Never mind. Well, no harm has been done here, but every day in industries, offices, and plants, wherever people work together, incalculable harm is done by people giving obstructions instead of instructions.
If you tell us what you want, Dr. Pigors, we'll be glad to fix it.
Well, at least one thing is going right.
What's that?
We got what we're after in any order-giving situation. Voluntary cooperation. Our friends here really want to set things right. But supposing, after I took that phone call in the office, I come back into the room this way. What kind of a setup is this? Don't you guys know we got to have chairs for this meeting? I told you what to do. Don't you ever get anything right? Now snap into it and get that easel over here by the table and get those chairs and set them up for the meeting. You've heard orders given that way before, haven't you?
Sort of like that.
I have.
How do you feel when people boss you around like that?
Well, I don't feel good, but I do it. I don't want to lose my job.
Exactly.
Like the hobo said to the cop when he told him to keep moving. I will, but I don't hanker to.
That's good. I will, but I don't hanker to. I got to remember that.
The way I figure it, sounding off like that, you can get guys to work for you. But if you want them to work with you, in cooperation, like you were saying, you've got to get to them from inside yourself, not just because you're the boss. Isn't that right, Pete?
Sure. The one guy in the world you can't bamboozle is the guy that works under you.
I guess a lot of the cooperation we get is what you might call antagonistic cooperation. The kind that man gives not because he wants to, but because he has to keep his job.
That's bad enough. But it can also lead to what we call malicious obedience. Let's suppose I work here for one of these order-giving bosses, and I've had it up to here. Let's suppose this box contains some expensive parts for assembly. I just work here. And the boss comes along. Hey, you, get rid of that box before some fool trips over it and hurts himself. And do it now. And the boss moves on. I just work here. and this is the chance I've been waiting for. The boss says, get rid of that box. I'll get rid of it, all right. In the trash can.
Then, when you're called up for discipline, you just play dumb.
Sure. How are you to know there was anything valuable in that box? You were just obeying orders. And the boss gets the blame.
And he'll get it again and again until he learns that the way he gives his orders and instructions will determine his success as a supervisor. In my talk, I'm going to show how every order, no matter how simple it is made up of 7 distinct steps. First, planning. You have to decide what action is required and then who should act. That is, the order receiver must be someone who has the ability to carry out the order. Sounds simple, doesn't it? But you have no idea how often the right order is given to the wrong man. And lastly, you plan what kind of order you'll use. Take off your shirt. You see, immediate resistance to the wrong kind of order.
Oh, I know. I will, but I don't hanker to.
Well, actually, I want to demonstrate something, and I'd appreciate it if you'd take off your shirt. Do you mind?
Glad to.
You see the difference? Now he's cooperating. The second step in order giving is preparing the order receiver. Let me show you why that is so important. You're going to have a chest x-ray taken. Now, what I would like to have you do is to step right up to this frame, put your hands behind your back, raise your chin, and when I say don't move, stand perfectly still. Understand?
I get it.
All right. Don't move. In one plant, where orders were given that way, more than half the films were unusable. Do you see why?
No, I don't.
Because he's breathing.
You didn't say not to breathe.
Exactly. Order receivers have to be prepared. They have to understand that the order don't move means don't even breathe. That's why they changed the order to take a deep breath. Hold it. Don't move. Thank you. You may dress now.
You're talking about what the armed forces used to call a briefing.
Right. You need to explain, relate the order to the objective, give the why of it. Often you'll have to explain the what and the how of the needed action. Now you're ready to present the order. The fewer words you use, the better, as long as the order is complete. And the way you speak can be just as important as what you say. Remember, you want to get voluntary cooperation. The fourth step is to verify. Now here's where you try to make sure the order receiver understands what's expected of him and is ready to do what needs to be done. Here's where I goofed in my instructions before going to answer the phone, right? The fifth step is action. If you follow the other steps properly, you'll undoubtedly get the desired action.
If.
A big if. And we're not through yet. You will have to follow up. Especially with standing orders, things may change. Maybe the order needs to be modified or a new order given. I'll need a helper to demonstrate this in the meeting. How about it?
Sure. What do I do?
Let's put this box on the table where everybody can see it. I got this example from an article by Robert B. Ross. It happened in a plant that was making a delicate electronic part called a capacitor. The part contained a certain powder, and the order went out that any man handling this powder must wear gloves or use the scoop. Never touch the powder with bare hands. Now, after many field failures and rejects, they finally followed up on that order. And they came to you, Chuck. handling this powder in the supply room. You've heard the order, haven't you?
Yep. Never touch the powder with my bare hands. Always use a scoop.
That's right. But we find you're not using the scoop. You're dishing out the powder with your bare hands. Go ahead. Now, I'm the manager, and I come up to you and say, "Hey, what do you think you're doing? You've been told not to use your bare hands, haven't you?"
Sure, but I've been using my hands for over a week now, and it doesn't hurt them a bit.
Well, what happened to him? Did it burn his hands?
Ah, the same mistake he made, a perfectly natural mistake. He thought the order was given to protect his hands. You see, the perspiration in a man's hands contains enough salt to contaminate the powder and ruin the capacitator.
They should have explained that. Better briefing, as you say.
Of course they should. And more important, quicker and better follow-up would have spotted the trouble before so much damage was done. Now, there's only one last step on my chart, a logical follow-up to follow-up. It's appraising, asking yourself how you're doing, judging how effectively both order giver and order receiver have functioned throughout the whole process in relation to needed results. That's what we got to keep asking ourselves. Where and how could we do better?
It's nearly time for the meeting, Dr. Pigors. Hadn't we better get the room in order?
No, Vern, let's leave it the way it is. By starting off with a demonstration of what happened when I gave faulty instructions, I hope to avoid even seeming to pose as the expert.
I hope it'll work.
Why not? If you want to, you can always learn from your own mistakes.